The following program contains shocking amounts of primary sources. If you suffer from addiction to rumors, this show might not be right for you. Check with your cheerleading captain.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. The only TV host arrested more times than Mahatma Gandhi, Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Voice of Resistance. It is I, your servant, Randall Terry. In today's program, part 2 of an exclusive interview with former Senator Rick Santorum, now presidential candidate, and an exclusive interview with Iowa Assemblywoman Mrs. Kim Pearson. Oh, you pro-lifers and Tea Party people, you are not going to want to miss that interview. Today's program brought to you in part by Romney for President. If there's a Judeo-Christian principle at stake, he'll find a way to betray it. And by Newt Gingrich. Yeah, he should be president because he's just that smart. I'll be right back after a quick word from my friend, Sir Reginald Bling.
Just turn the thing on. I got something to say. Listening to President Obama talk about human rights and the growth of democracy, it's enough to make a crazy man sane. Well, it seems like just yesterday when President Obama was bowing down before the Saudi Arabian dictator whose henchmen put people in prison and kill religious dissidents and political freedom seekers, and before they go to breakfast. Mr. Obama, how stupid do you think we are? Well, we did elect him.
Welcome back to the program, friend. I was recently in Des Moines, Iowa, where I was talking to voters, interviewing people, meeting with homeschoolers. I had the privilege of doing a 3-part interview with presidential candidate Rick Santorum. In this segment, I ask him a series of rapid-fire questions. Let him tell you what are the most important issues that he faces as a possible president. I give you part 2 of our interview with Rick Santorum. Allowing oil drilling in Anwar, yes or no?
I've voted for it repeatedly, and not just there, but oil sands and offshore and deep water, and we need to produce more oil in this country. It'll be a huge boost to our economy just from the jobs created from the energy production, but it'll also be a huge boost in reducing the price of oil in this country and stopping the headwinds that are out there right now, because we have a president who is doing everything he can to crush the production of oil in this country and crush any kind of energy production, period.
The connection between Saudi oil money and Islamic terrorism is well proven. What would you do as president to help crimp that?
Well, again, I mean, if the radical jihadists are in a position to exert power and influence in the world because of one word, oil. But for oil, this ideology, which has been around for a long time, was sitting dormant in Saudi Arabia and in Iran and other places, and oil allowed the fusion of a radical ideology and resources to get technology that can project power. And that has been a very volatile mix, and one that if we do not, reduce the profitability and price of oil, will continue to be a problem for us from a national security point of view.
Your top 3 issues as a candidate?
Well, to me, repealing Obamacare is the first and foremost thing. To me, that's a game changer for the country. Once Obamacare is implemented, then America will become like every other socialist country that has a national health care system where the government will have an IV connected to you.
So you're saying that if you were elected president, you would do a full repeal, a one-line bill?
Absolutely. Repeal Obamacare. And well, obviously, we would have things that we'd have to do to try to transform the system that's in place right now. But as far as elements of Obamacare, I start all over. Let's do something that's bottom up, that believes in people, that believes in not rationing of care by a board of folks that Obama appoints, but rationing of care by 300 million people who ration food right now, who ration housing right now, who ration education, who ration everything, because that's what we have to do in our lives. We have to make choices about what we want to spend resources on, and we set priorities as to what those are. We need to have that kind of consumer-driven health care in order for us to get health care that meets our needs. And, you know, we can't just be patients. We have to be consumers and customers in addition to being patients if we're going to see healthcare costs go down and the quality of healthcare be maintained and choices be available to you and your family.
All right, issues 2 and 3.
Issues 2 and 3, to me, we have to create growth. We have an economy that is struggling. If we don't grow this economy, and that's the principal way that we're going to reduce this deficit. So it's a combination of growing the economy with both tax, regulation, and litigation changes that need to be made, and obviously controlling our government spending. We have to look at these entitlement programs, look at domestic spending, and get those things under control. And and finally, I'm someone who believes that strong families and strong communities are important for limited government. And so I've been a very strong proponent of government trying to be a friend to the family, someone who supports the institution of marriage and be very vocal about that, support provisions that respect life, and there are a lot of executive orders and things the president passed of funding of abortion and Planned Parenthood and things like that. So we need to establish also that the culture is important if America is going to be safe and secure and prosperous in the future.
Well, there you have it. I have to admit, I was a little bit disappointed at the lack of clarity on his third point. In case you missed it, he was talking about family values, marriages between a man and a woman, the issue of life, meaning do we protect innocent babies by law? In my next show, I will air part 3 of this interview, in which I really focus on the right to life of the unborn. Some of you will be very happy with his answer. Others of you will be happy and a little bit sad. I leave it to you to be the judge. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, I've got an interview that you are not going to want to miss. In some ways, it's probably a more important interview than my interview with Rick Santorum. I had the privilege of interviewing a sitting member of the Iowa House of Representatives, and she talks about the treachery inside the Republican Party and inside the pro-life movement. Please think about this. If God looked down from his heaven upon us and said, these are the things that matter to me, to our Maker, what do you think he would say? I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back.
Randall and I made a trip to Washington to visit FDR. While there, Randall told him that Alger Hiss was a communist. The president threw us out of his office. Moron.
Moments with Moses. If you will not hearken to me, and will not do all these commandments, I will appoint over you the sudden terror, consumption, and fever that waste the eyes and cause life to pine away. You shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it.
Welcome back to the program, friend. Have you ever wondered why Republicans keep winning majorities in state houses, a majority in the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House, even the White House, and yet we continue down this path of national suicide, self-destruction, the killing of our babies, the militant homosexual movement getting stronger and stronger, our debt getting bigger and bigger? You ever wondered, how can this be? And for those of you that are pro-life activists, can you answer the question as to why, after 38 years in this battle, we are still not able to overturn Roe and to make it illegal to kill an innocent human being from conception until birth? Well, the interview that you're about to see gives you a perfect and horrifying illustration as to why we keep winning elections, why the pro-life movement raises enormous sums of money, and we keep losing. I give you our interview with Mrs. Kim Pearson.
We've got a rock star here. I'm telling you right now, she's like a superstar. Look at her, look at her. Focus on her, not me. She's lovely, I'm ugly. Look at her. A real Republican, conservative, God-fearing, life-loving, liberty-serving Republican.
It's true.
You've got to be like virtually an extinct species.
Sometimes it felt that way.
All right, for background, folks, Mrs. Pearson, Kim Pearson, is a freshman member of the Iowa House, won because of the Tea Party, folks.
Yes.
Took out a Democrat in a supposedly safe Democratic seat, and you won. I mean, I'm just so excited. That is so cool. So I want you to talk to the viewer about running.
Well, I wanted to tell you that even though the Republican establishment told me not to talk about social issues,
Are you listening, people? Tea Party people, pro-life people?
I did. I mean, and I had a primary, and so I stayed to the right because that's where my principles are, even in the primary. And then they said, okay, you won the primary, come over to the left if you're going to win. And I said, no, I'm not hiding who I am, and you'll vote for me if you like me, and you won't if you don't. So I stayed way to the right, and I was able to, by God's grace, win.
What did the Republican Party do during the general?
Well, you know, towards the end, they gave me some money at the end. I got $2,500.
La-di-da.
And I know she spent like $100,000 more than I did, my opponent. So, you know, after a month in the legislature, I gave that money back.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I wrote a check, gave it to them, and they came running after me. What does this mean? And I went, I don't owe you a thing. And it was beautiful.
Ooh. All right, talk to the people watching about running, them running. Because one of the reasons I do this show, besides the fact that I get to be on television, I'm so famous, is that I urge people to run. We're losing the country because we don't have more people like her, okay? You people who are supporting John Boehner, who are excited about Mitt Romney, you must be on drugs. Did I say that? I did. Okay.
You said that.
Talk to them about running, please.
You know, if God has placed it on your heart, He will help you win. I mean, I can't take any credit for it. It is by God's grace alone. So,
you worked hard.
well, yeah, you absolutely do work hard. But we absolutely need Christian statesmen. I am shocked at what happens behind closed doors when I have grown men that'll stand up and say, I have all these problems with the bill, but leadership, if you tell me to vote for it, I'll do it. And I sit there and go, Mom.
So they don't represent their people anymore, they represent the leadership.
Yeah. It is, that was a big surprise to me.
All right, so somebody is watching right now and thinking, well, maybe I could run, but I really can't.
You know, there's nothing stopping you. I mean, I don't know how to encourage you more. If Christ is calling you, He's not going to leave you alone. So.
And even if you run and you lose,
well, you still win.
You get your message out.
Absolutely. I mean, you run because God has called you to do it. You don't run knowing whether or not you'll win or lose. So.
All right. So what's next? That bill was defeated in this time around.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, next year we're just going to do it again.
You know.
Even though I know what they'll say, Kim, we've already done that last year. Let's not go there again. And until it's done, we'll do it.
I'd like to ask you if you would consider running. Again, obviously yourself, but maybe handpicking 2 or 3 of the Republicans that are the most obnoxious and endorsing their primary competitor.
Oh, absolutely. I already have people coming up because what we've done, and it's not just me, there's a couple other people that have been in the House that helped this, but we've revealed the hypocrisy, and now we've got people coming forward that actually want to run against some of the leaders. So it's an amazing turnaround.
All right, so I want to get this straight. And I'm not going to hold you to it, this tape will. So you're saying that if you did have a good candidate who came forward to run in a primary against some of these treacherous Republicans, that you would publicly help them?
Absolutely.
I just met this woman, and I think she's awesome.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, if somebody would hold
Where did you come from? Who are you?
I don't know. That's just by God's grace who I am. But, you know, I've already told people that we've redistricted this year. And we've got people thrown in together. Current sitting House.
You redistricted your state house.
Yeah. And so for the next election, there are some House Republicans that are in the same district. And I totally know who I'm supporting. And I will do so publicly.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, what Mrs. Pearson is doing is she's putting principle ahead of party.
Absolutely.
She's putting life and liberty ahead of comfort and slavery. That sounds like a great presidential ad.
It's a wonderful one. Do you know anyone that does that?
I do. What did you think of my ad?
I thought it was excellent.
Why did you support Ron Paul? What about me? What am I, chopped liver?
You know what? I'm sorry, but I didn't realize that you were running until today. So God bless you for running and for saying these things.
Oh, no, I've got a better idea. You can endorse me. Now, hear me out. You can endorse me in the Democratic primary. Because I'm running as a Democrat.
Are you really?
Yes.
How awesome is that?
That way I don't have to quibble with Mitt Romney and Ron Paul. Obama's who needs to be body punched.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So can I get your endorsement in the Democratic primary?
The Democratic primary, absolutely. Okay, Democrats, this is your guy.
Thank you. Kim, it's a delight to have you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Friend, it would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. I want to encourage you, if you're watching on one of our many television affiliates, that you go to our website, randallterry.com, and watch this interview that you just saw. Watch it again. Tell your friends to go there and watch it. If you're watching online, I encourage you to send a link to other people that you know that value life and liberty so that they can hear firsthand from an insider in the Republican establishment, or at least somebody who is inside and at war with the Republican establishment, why we keep losing, even when Republicans win elections and when pro-life groups, so-called, are raising exorbitant sums of money and yet failing to come forward with any significant legislation that protects unborn human beings from conception until birth. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back from this break, I want to show you what, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of other people, a real political ad looks like. Are you ready to start throwing some body punches? You've come to the right place. Don't go away.
We have got to name names in this battle. That is the history, that is the theology of the church. And if the IRS says, no, you can't name a name, you have to decide at that minute, who is the Lord of your tongue? Who is the Lord of your pen? Who is the Lord of the gospel? Is it Jesus or the IRS?
It is a fine thing to be honest, but it is also very important to be right. Sir Winston Churchill.
Welcome back to the program, friend. For those of you who don't know it, I'm running what most people would call a protest candidacy for the presidency. I'm running as a Democrat in Iowa against President Obama. Obviously, I cannot beat him. That's not the point. The point is to use the vehicle of a campaign to discuss the things that need to be discussed and that a lot of the Republicans won't say clearly and courageously. Issues that they want to avoid, frankly, at all costs. So, for the newsworthy nature of this ad, because it did get a lot of press in Iowa and in some places around the country, I want to show you this 60-second ad that we ran in Iowa a couple of weeks ago. Hope you enjoy it. Barack Hussein Obama is the worst president in our history. He's at war with our founding principles of life and liberty. His bailout of Wall Street and socialist agenda have enslaved our children to debt, to China. His addiction to Arab oil funds Islamic terrorists while he leaves billions of barrels untouched in Anwar. He chose a government shutdown, paid our soldiers late, rather than defund Planned Parenthood. He cast aside the Defense of Marriage Act and is guilty of the slaughter of unborn babies, defying the commandments of God. Who will stop this madman? The establishment? John Boehner? Mitt Romney? I'm asking your vote in the Iowa caucus against Obama. I can defeat him here if you put principle ahead of party, life and liberty ahead of comfort and slavery. I'm Randall Terry, and I approve this message. Well, there you have it. I beg you, for the love of God, for the love of this country, for the love of your children and your grandchildren, should you have any or should you get some someday, have discernment. Don't fall for platitudes. Don't fall for, well, I'm in favor of national sovereignty and I think we need to bring down entitlements. Wait. What does that mean? It's the specifics that matter. Please please, for the love of all that is true and just and holy, get discernment so that you can see through campaign jargon from candidates from all parties and ask the tough questions. What do you really want to accomplish when it comes to policy concerning these critical, some of them life and death issues? I'll be right back with somebody who knows how to speak clearly, one of our founding fathers. Don't go away.
O Lord, thou God of vengeance, shine forth. Rise up, O judge of the earth. Render to the proud their deserts. O Lord, how long shall the wicked exult?
George Mason said, "As nations cannot be rewarded or punished in the next world, they must be in this." Friend, George Mason was talking about the judgments of God. Anybody who heard that quote back then knew exactly what he meant, and anyone who knows their history and can understand English knows today what he meant. America as a nation will not stand before the judgment seat of God because, according to the scriptures, God judges individuals. But the scriptures also teach that he judges nations in this life, in this world. And you and I need to understand that we are struggling for our survival as a nation. The shedding of innocent blood on our soil has brought about the curse of heaven upon us. And that curse and that judgment is only going to get worse. If you study Deuteronomy chapter 28 or Leviticus chapter 26, you can see the judgments that God pronounces on nations that betray him and disobey him. And frankly, it's like reading today's headlines. You can see those judgments happening. And so in this election cycle, I want you to remember that policy matters. If this country is going to be saved, it's going to be because we elected men and women who brought us back from the abyss.